Since the dawn of time, human beings have walked the edge of extinction. We were not the strongest creatures. We did not have the claws of the lion, the speed of the cheetah, or the armor of the rhinoceros. What we had was something far more powerful, the will to survive. Long before the modern world, our ancestors wandered the vast wilderness of Earth with nothing but fire, stones, and courage. They faced predators that could tear them apart in seconds. They faced bitter cold that could freeze their bodies to death. They faced hunger that gnawed at their souls for days without end. And yet, they endured. The first humans survived ice ages that should have erased them. They crossed deserts where no water flowed. They sailed oceans without maps, chasing the horizon with only faith in the stars. Every battle against nature was a miracle of endurance. But survival was not just about nature. From the beginning, humanity fought enemies within tribes against tribes, nations against nations, brother against brother. Wars and conflicts spread like fire, threatening to destroy the fragile threads that held civilization together. And yet, we did not perish. Why? Because buried deep in the human spirit is a flame that refuses to die. When the world turned against us, we adapted. When disaster struck, we rebuilt. When hope seemed lost, we found reasons to keep going. This is the first truth of the greatest survival story in human history. Humanity was never meant to survive, and yet it did. But what lies ahead is even more terrifying, because survival is not just about what came before it, it's about the storms of the future. And the storms are coming. In the 14th century, death rode across Europe like a shadow. The plague, what we now call the Black Death, swept from Asia into Europe, killing millions in its path. Entire cities were emptied. Families locked themselves in homes, only to die together in silence. Imagine the fear. Priests stopped praying in public. Doctors refused to treat the sick, and the very foundation of society crumbled. Between 1347 and 1351, nearly half of Europe's population vanished. It was not just a disease. It was the end of the world for those who lived through it. People believed it was God's punishment. Others thought it was sorcery. Many gave up hope altogether, and yet humanity survived. Out of the ashes of plague, Europe eventually rose into the Renaissance. From despair came a rebirth of art, science, and exploration. The year without a summer, but nature was not done testing us. In 1815, a massive volcanic eruption at Mount Tambora in Indonesia sent so much ash into the atmosphere that the earth dimmed. The following year, 1816, was remembered as the year without a summer. Across Europe, Asia, and North America, crops failed. Snow fell in June. Rivers froze in July. Hunger spread across nations, and countless people starved to death. And yet again, humanity endured. Farmers learned new techniques. People migrated to survive. Out of struggle came adaptation. The world wars, and then came humanity's greatest self-inflicted wounds, the world wars of the 20th century. The First World War was called the war to end all wars, but it was only a beginning. Millions of soldiers fell in trenches filled with mud and gas. The world saw destruction at a scale it had never imagined. Barely 2 decades later, the Second World War unleashed an even darker nightmare. Cities burned under relentless bombings. Families were torn apart. Entire populations faced extermination. And, for the first time in history, humanity witnessed the mushroom cloud of atomic fire. The survival of humanity in this era was nothing short of a miracle. At any moment, a few decisions could have ended civilization entirely. But against the chaos, people rebuilt. Nations rose from ruins. The world, scarred but alive, continued forward, the shadow of extinction. Looking back, every one of these moments, the plague, the famine, the wars could have ended the human story. Each was a trial, a test, a shaking of the earth itself. But here we are. Why? Because humanity carries something within it that refuses to die. A stubborn spirit. A divine spark. A will to live that has carried us through every collapse, every disaster, every storm. And yet, the greatest survival story is still being written. Because while we survived the past, the challenges of the future are unlike anything humanity has ever faced. We are now entering an age of storms, climate change, artificial intelligence, global wars, and forces beyond our understanding. If the first chapters of survival were about escaping beasts, plagues, and wars, the final chapters may be about surviving ourselves and the very earth we live on. So far, we've journeyed through the past plagues, the famines, the wars that nearly broke us. But the story is not finished. Humanity's greatest survival challenge may not be behind us, it may lie just ahead. We are now entering what many call the most dangerous century in human history. Why? Because the threats we face today are not only natural, they are man-made, and they are global. The climate crisis for centuries. Earth has been our shelter, our mother, our provider. But now, the climate is changing faster than ever before. Oceans are rising. Heat waves are becoming unbearable. Storms grow stronger every year. Whole islands in the Pacific are disappearing beneath the sea, forcing people to flee from the homes of their ancestors. Scientists warn that if temperatures rise beyond a certain point, parts of our planet may become uninhabitable. Crops will fail. Fresh water will vanish. Millions or even billions could be displaced. This is not just a survival test for one nation. This is a test for all of humanity. Will we work together to face or turn against each other in the scramble for resources? The nuclear shadow. Since 1945, the world has lived under a shadow, the threat of nuclear war. At any given moment, thousands of nuclear weapons remain armed and ready. A single mistake, a miscalculation, or a moment of madness could ignite a war that ends civilization in hours. Imagine the survival story if this happens. Cities turned to ash in seconds. Skies blackened by nuclear winter. Survivors struggling not only with radiation, but with hunger, cold, and despair. The question is, would humanity survive such a catastrophe? Or would this be the final chapter of our story, the rise of artificial intelligence? But beyond the threats of nature and war, there is something new, something humanity has never faced before. We are creating machines that can think, learn, and evolve. Artificial intelligence. Some believe AI will save us solving problems humans never could. Others fear it could enslave us or worse, destroy us. If machines become smarter than humans, will they see us as partners? Or obstacles? Could the tools we created for survival become the very reason we fall? This is the paradox of progress. The same technology that promises salvation could also bring extinction. Pandemics of the future. We survived the Black Death. We endured the Spanish flu. And recently, we faced the COVID-19 pandemic, which showed just how vulnerable we still are. But here's the truth. Future pandemics could be far deadlier. With global travel, diseases can spread across continents in days. And with genetic engineering, it is possible that new viruses could be created whether by accident or by design. Imagine a disease with the contagiousness of COVID, the deadliness of Ebola, and no cure in sight. Would we survive such a storm? Cosmic threats! And then, beyond our planet, lie dangers we rarely think about. Asteroids, solar flares, gamma-ray bursts. 65 million years ago, an asteroid ended the reign of the dinosaurs. If one struck Earth today, it could erase cities, nations, or even all of humanity. We like to believe this is unlikely, but the universe is vast, and space is not empty. Survival on Earth means survival in a cosmic shooting gallery. The choice before us, all of these threats: climate change, nuclear war, AI, pandemics, asteroids, they paint a picture of a fragile world. A world where humanity stands at the edge of both greatness and destruction. But here is the truth. The greatest survival story in human history is not about avoiding every disaster. It's about how we respond. We cannot control the storms, but we can control how we prepare. We cannot stop the dangers, but we can choose courage over fear. We cannot guarantee tomorrow, but we can fight for it. And that's what makes this story, the human story, so powerful. Because no matter the danger, there is something inside us that says, not yet. The story is not over. We will survive. We have walked through the past, explored the dangers of the present, and faced the unknowns of the future. But now, we arrive at the heart of the story. What is survival? Really? Is it just about not dying? Is it about clinging to life, no matter how hard? Or is it about something deeper? Because the greatest survival story in human history isn't just about staying alive. It's about why we fight to live. Survival is not enough. Think about it. If survival was only about breathing, eating, and avoiding death, then humanity would have never built cities, never written poetry, never reached the stars. We are not here just to survive. We are here to create, to dream, to love, to build something that outlasts us. Survival is the foundation, but what we build on top of it. That is our true story. When our ancestors painted on cave walls, they weren't just surviving, they were declaring we were here. We mattered. When explorers crossed oceans, they weren't just surviving, they were expanding the horizon of what it means to be human. When people risk their lives to save others in times of disaster, they are saying, survival is not just for me, it's for us. That is why humanity's survival is the greatest story ever told. Because it's never just about staying alive, it's about living with meaning. The fire that never dies. Every culture, every generation carries a story of survival. The ancient Greeks spoke of Prometheus stealing fire from the gods. The Hebrews told of their exodus from slavery into freedom. The enslaved people of history sang songs of resilience that carried their spirits through suffering. And today, survivors of wars, disasters, and diseases still carry that fire inside them, the unshakable belief that life is worth fighting for. Humanity's greatest survival story, ISNT, written in one book or one time it, is written in billions of lives, across centuries, across continents. Lessons from our struggles. What do we learn from all of this? From famine, plague, war, disaster, and survival against all odds, we learn that strength is not just physical, it's mental. We learn that courage is not the absence of fear, it's moving forward despite it. We learn that survival is not just about the strongest, it's about cooperation, compassion, and community. The lone survivor is a myth. No one survives alone. From the very beginning, humanity survived because we worked together. Because we helped each other. Because we carried those who could not carry themselves. The greatest survival story is a story of us, not me. The next chapter. Beyond Earth now, as we look to the future, we must ask, how will this survival story continue? For thousands of years, Earth has been our home, our cradle. But cradles are not meant to be permanent. If humanity truly wishes to survive for thousands, even millions of years, we must look beyond this planet. Mars, the moon, other stars, other galaxies. It may sound like science fiction, but so did airplanes, electricity, and the internet once. The truth is, the ultimate survival story may not even take place on Earth. It may unfold in the stars, as humans carry their fire into the darkness of space. Imagine our descendants telling their children, once, long ago, our people lived on a small blue planet. They nearly destroyed themselves, but they endured, and because of that, we are here. That will be the greatest survival story of all. The responsibility of survival. But survival is not just a right, it is a responsibility. We have inherited this world from those who came before us, who fought through unimaginable trials so that we could exist. And now, it is our turn to carry the torch forward. That means protecting the Earth, so it remains a home for future generations. That means avoiding the mistakes of greed, division, and destruction that nearly ended us in the past. That means choosing cooperation over conflict, creation over destruction, and hope over despair. Survival is not passive, it's a choice we make every single day. The human spirit, and so, after all the wars, all the plagues, all the disasters, all the close calls, here we are, still standing, still breathing, still dreaming. The human spirit is the most powerful survival tool in history. It cannot be measured, it cannot be destroyed, and it cannot be erased. When the world says give up, the human spirit whispers back, not yet. When darkness surrounds us, the human spirit lights a fire. When survival seems impossible, the human spirit proves it is not. This is why humanity's greatest survival story is not just history, it is destiny. The final word. We began with a question. What is the greatest survival story in human history? And now, the answer is clear. It is not the story of one person, one tribe, or one nation. It is not just the story of wars, plagues, or disasters. It is the story of all of us. The story of a fragile species, born on a small planet, facing endless trials and refusing to disappear. The story of humanity. And as long as we live, as long as we fight, as long as we dream, the story continues. Because survival is not the end. Survival is the beginning. And this is the greatest survival story in human history. As we stand here in the 21st century, surrounded by modern comforts technology, medicine, infrastructure, and instant access to food, it can be difficult to truly grasp the unimaginable struggles our ancestors faced. But the story of humanity's survival is not just something written in dusty history books or carved into stone tablets. It is a living, breathing legacy that flows through our veins today. Every breath you take, every step you walk is possible because countless generations before you refused to surrender to extinction. Humanity has stared into the abyss countless times. We have endured cataclysmic floods, devastating plagues, deadly famines, collapsing empires, and global wars. Each of these moments could have been the end. Yet, we did not vanish. We adapted. We rebuilt. We continued. That is what makes our story the greatest survival story in history so remarkable. But survival wasn't just about physical endurance. It was about the human spirit, the unyielding will to live, to protect families, to pass down knowledge, and to dream of a better tomorrow. It was about faith in the unseen, hope in the impossible, and courage in the face of overwhelming odds. And here's the truth. The survival story isn't over. You and I are part of it right now. The challenges of today's climate change, pandemics, artificial intelligence, nuclear threat, and social collapse are our generation's tests. Just as our ancestors faced their storms, so too must we face ours. The question is, will we rise or will we fall? If history has shown us anything, it's that humanity is at its strongest when it refuses to break. The survival of our species has never been about comfort, it has always been about resilience. You are here today because someone, thousands of years ago, refused to quit. And one day, generations from now, people may exist because you and your generation refuse to give up. So, the greatest survival story in human history, ISNT, just something that happened in the past that is happening right now. And the ending? That's still being written.